Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cactus Patch. I am your host, Glitch Cactus, but you can call me Cactus. And today we're discussing IPL's Splat World Series that has just finished up their second qualifier, and in just a few more days, we will have the event here. Western versus JP, who will be crowned champion. And who else to have to talk about such an incredible event than one of the legends in the Splatoon community themselves, K-Bot. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Just got off work not too terribly long ago. I'm an adult with real responsibilities now.
Ooh.
Boo hoo, that one stinks. But no, I'm doing all right. I'm excited to sit here and talk everyone's ear off, as Pop Gun has notably said multiple times over. And no, it should be a good time.
Absolutely. I definitely did not take Pop Gun's advice and having
No, you did
three
not.
questions ready for you. In fact, I think I quadrupled it, so this is going to
Yeah.
be very fun, very exciting. But for whatever reason, if there's some people that are watching or listening that don't know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name's Kbot. I've been doing this Splatoon thing for it. I guess it is over 10 years now.
Mhm.
I was involved. I first got involved very early on before the first game's release. Um, I first started as a team manager for a brief stint. Was then a tournament organizer, a commentator, and then a coach. And I kind of took a little break over the course of the year, just got back into it over the summer when everything exciting happened. So really good timing for me to come back. Um, but yeah, I've been doing it for a while. In terms of accolades, I don't know how many accolades you can say as someone who's a tournament organizer, commentator, so on and so forth. There are
Mhm.
plenty of other people, I suppose, that could try to sing praises, but uh, yeah. Needless to say, I've been around for a decent bit.
Yeah, so you're in a sense kind of an OG, been around since you said before the first game dropped, so
Yep.
you've been seeing the whole scene kind of start to current day, from nothing to what it is now. Um, what kind of drove you to getting into Splatoon? What was kind of like that, like, and some people say it's like the funny commercial, some people say it's just like interesting. What was it for you that was like, I'm interested in this game?
So I think there's a great combination of factors that kind of led to it.
Okay.
For one, at the time when E3 2014 happened,
Hmm.
and Splatoon's trailer was first released, um, I I like I guess the context of how I grew up is I kind of grew up outside of the suburb,
Hmm.
basically, of a town. So the city was not far away. My school was not far away, but as my brother once described it, we lived nowhere enough to be nowhere. Um, there was no real I didn't get the opportunity to walk across the street and go say hi to a neighbor
Hmm.
because I was the only house on a golf course. My dad was a golf course superintendent.
Okay.
So I didn't have much of a social life at all. The
Hmm.
only social life I had was going to school.
Yeah.
Um, and I had like a handful of friends who were like also interested in Nintendo games. Um, and I had my first console was a Wii, and the DS.
Mhm.
Eventually, our whole friend group kind of like started getting a little excited about Splatoon because it looked interesting. It looked kind of like a new thing. And as basically only Nintendo fans, this was our only, real space in terms of a competitive game that wasn't Smash Brothers, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and as a friend group in high school, we had kind of decided, well, like this game looks fun. Why don't we try like making a team and just seeing what happens?
Mhm.
So before the game even was released, um, I had plans to be on a team with four of my buddies from high school and just play when the game actually came out.
Yeah.
However, when the game did come out, uh, it turned out that I could not stay in a lobby for longer than like 5 seconds before disconnecting.
Oh, wow.
my internet was so garbage that it would let me connect to the game and it would let me go through the waiting screen.
Yeah.
But the second it got into gameplay, it would drop me.
Oh, wow.
And funnily enough, like this was not a problem during the test fires that happened beforehand. It was only a problem with the full game's release.
Mhm.
So I don't know what the issue was other than we had a terrible internet connection somewhere out nowhere to be nowhere.
Yeah.
Um, and so the team thing kind of fell through. Everyone else got busy with other things.
Mhm.
And eventually, but I was like, well, this game is still kind of cool and this kind of stinks and I can't play it. So I want to still be involved. As a part of that kind of team thing, we ended up like creating our profiles on squid boards.
Okay.
And so after a while, I had kept poking around on squid boards, and eventually stumbled into a clan that I thought was kind of just like a fun thing.
Mhm.
The clan was called Inkopolis Underground, which nobody will have heard of, except for a few people. But basically, the clan's premise was in order to get into the clan, you had to like create your own like Squid Soda OC
Mhm.
character, and like write a little bio
Mhm.
of like how you stumbled into this thing. So I did that, and I was accepted because they were basically taking all comers at the time.
Mhm.
Um, but that again, right? Like I couldn't play, so I ended up kind of being more of a team manager and kind of did the captainy responsibilities of organization because at that time the clan had 4 teams under its belt.
Okay.
Um, so, we were kind of a larger group, and that takes a lot of like who's playing with who and
Mhm.
sign up for what tournament, what's the roster, those sorts of things. But pretty quickly in that process, I was also involved in the large Inker Sync mega thread. Inker Sync was the first tournament that was hosted in the August of 2015.
Mhm.
Because for a while when the game was out, we didn't have private lobbies.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they came at a later date, an update.
Yeah, yeah. So everyone was like signing up for this tournament that we couldn't even practice for,
Mhm.
other than you know playing turf war basically,
Yeah.
or playing the ranked the solo queue in effect. Um, but eventually in that thread, I kind of was involved as kind of like the armchair help desk answerer,
Yeah.
there's always those people. Well, I was that person at one point, and then Eric reached out to me asking, "Hey, like you seem like you're like someone that wants to be really helpful. Do you have any interest in trying to be a TO? Because
Mhm.
I'm trying to plan this thing with Endgame TV." And I said, "Sure, why not?"
Yeah.
And that partnership went on to become Inkstorm, and that was my kind of first introduction to being a tournament organizer. So it all starts from a couple buddies getting together in high school, and I didn't have an internet connection, so I couldn't play,
Yeah.
and I found everything else that I could do outside of playing. So there you go.
Wow. So you're not really so if you think about it, so if your net worked that day, you may have actually just been a competitive player.
Yeah. Yes. That is true. Now, the weird thing is, I think I probably would have found tournament organizing to be more fun at some point
Mhm.
anyway.
Okay, yeah.
Um, because I was never that great at anything.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't really care to have the hours to commit to anything.
Yeah.
Um, but like the other thing too is on the playground when I was in middle school, I enjoyed being the kickball referee more than I enjoyed playing kickball.
Okay.
Um, and like similar things like that. I enjoyed
Yeah.
being the timekeeper for basketball rather than actually playing basketball with everyone else on the playground.
Mhm.
Um, so I think I was already kind of preconditioned to be a tournament organizer
Yeah.
before all of that happened. So I think I probably would have found it eventually.
Okay. That's fair. You have more of the interest on making it function and work rather than just being
Yeah.
the person that just plays it out.
Yeah, my enjoyment came from watching other people have fun.
Yeah. So that's kind of like that was your entryway into more of the TO side of things. When did you really start getting into like the commentary of things? Obviously like you've seen a lot of tournaments probably build up and start kind of transforming into what they are kind of required to have today for the most part. So when did you kind of like start dipping your toes into the commentary aspect?
So, for commentary, I think the thing that I was most pressured into doing something with my voice
Hmm.
by my senior high school year, senior English teacher.
Okay.
There was like a project or two where like you could record a podcast instead of like writing an essay.
Hmm.
It was basically the same thing. And she had always just told me I had had a relationship with her for a while. I had known her even going back to middle school because she was also the middle school club advisor for the newspaper,
Oh,
and I was
okay.
the editor for the newspaper, which
Hmm.
we ended up turning into a site. That's a whole other thing. I
Yeah.
forgot that happened. Anyway, but she told me I had a great voice and that I should try to do something like radio or something with it.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of like turned the gears in my head. And eventually I was like, you know what? I'll give this commentary thing a shot because at the time that I was looking, this is 2018. This is probably towards the beginning, but basically in the heyday
Hmm.
of the BNS era of Black and Spoon, which was
Hmm.
a tournament series that happened once a week for 2 years, nearly. And the staple of the tournament was a couch cast.
Okay.
And it was something where like Black was more than willing to have anyone come onto that. And there would be like 4 or 5 different people where like one or two maybe were newer people, one or two were more experienced. And obviously Black was there for all of them, kind of running the stream, but also chiming in. Um, it was just a laid back atmosphere where you could kind of start learning the ropes, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
But and because it wasn't a formal environment, the pressure is off. You
Yeah.
know, you don't have to perform. If you mess up, like so what? If you mess up, it's funny. You
Yeah.
know, that's the couch cast mentality.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was kind of where I got my introduction to it. And I think the more I started doing it, the more that I enjoyed the commentary part more than the TO part, because by that time I had been TOing for like 4 years and five
Yeah.
years. I think if anyone who has been a TO knows that like once you do it enough times,
Hmm.
there's only so many ways you can reinvent the wheel, you
Yeah.
know? Uh, so the commentary part gave me like a new skill to kind of develop and hone in on
Yeah.
that wasn't playing the game, and gave me the hobby that I had for the beginning of my college
Mhm.
studies.
So to kind of poke a little more at your commentary aspect, there was a point where I'm sure it got from couch casting to a little more serious. And by serious, of course, I have to poke at the fact that there was a time where you did commentate for Nintendo events for Splatoon. Um,
Something like that, I guess.
so yeah, so a little bit maybe. What was that like, kind of going from that kind of shifting gears, if it really was even that, going from something that's a little more like back, chill, and fun to like, hey, you're gonna be on like an official like one of the largest gaming companies in the world's stream for a silly little Squid Game.
Yeah. Well, I think it's no secret that I took it more and more seriously as time went on,
Yeah.
right? Um, Obviously, I kind of had to, whether it be starting to attend lands and wanting to cast at lands.
Yeah.
Although I was more roped into TOing for the lands rather than casting.
Hmm.
Um, or you know, there were opportunities that kept coming up because as I continued kind of working at my own skill, people were like, "Oh, hey, like this guy's halfway decent. He's got a good sounding voice. Like he can do a decent number of things."
Yeah.
Um, and I also started developing my analytical eye for the game
Hmm.
a little more, probably around this time. And I was kind of quick to recognize like certain patterns and compositions and like how the game, how people wanted to try to play the game. The way that I describe commentary a lot of the time is really your job as a commentator is just to describe what what both teams are trying to do.
Hmm.
You don't have to agree with it. You just have to kind of point out what they're doing and, comment on whether or not it's working.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think I started training that more. And then eventually, I think my largest breakout was probably Tassel.
Okay.
Tassel Season 2, which took place in November of 2020 when everyone was insanely bored and tired of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I had a lot of free time on my hands to build out this whole broadcast because the matches were originally not going to be broadcasted for a high-level invitational league.
Mhm.
There was just going to be no broadcast presence or anything whatsoever. And I think the effort that I put into making that brand and the practice that that gave me in commentary definitely helped me transition over to kind of being one of the people that is around for most top level events.
Yeah.
Um, and one day you get a message from Nintendo. Like that's kind of how it works, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
there's no like application, there's no nothing. You just get reached out to by somebody.
Mhm.
And that must mean that you're doing something right, I guess.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I guess right place, right time for a lot of that for me.
That's awesome. It's really cool to hear that it's one of it like putting in that effort to shine something that was going to be kind of completely, I won't say ignored, but like out of the spotlight, and giving it that shining moment was able
Yeah,
to really kind of help shine the light on you, right? So you it kind of like returned the favor in a sense for what you were
yeah,
able to do, and it was able to really push forward what you were aiming on helping within the scene, and it paid its way back very nicely. You did poke a little bit at lands, and I do want to actually ask, what was the first land you ever attended? And you did say you kind of get dragged into TOing a lot for land, so what was that like? Kind of being able to in a sense, help run in-person Splatoon events.
yeah. So the first LAN I attended was actually kind of like part of my high school graduation present. I convinced my mom to take me up to Smash and Splash 4.
Okay.
Um, which ironically, like full circle now, what, 7 years later, I am now 2 hours from the Wisconsin Dells,
Oh wow.
doing a full-time job in esports. Um, but at that time, like, yeah, that was my first event, and I figured I kind of just showed up.
Hmm.
Like, I didn't really announce that I was going. I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't fill out any of the volunteer applications or anything because I didn't know they existed.
Yeah.
Um, I just showed up and pretty quickly AC just like put me to work and started making me do things. Like I made myself available because, you know, I certainly wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I didn't have a team. I wasn't bothered, by actually going to go play. And at that time, I hadn't done commentary at all. Um, so yeah, I ended up doing a lot of like pool captain things or holding down the fort. Doing other bits and pieces along the way. Um, and eventually, I was kind of tapped to be one of the people that would be AC's successor.
Hmm.
AC was one of the main people that helped kind of launch Splatoon lands in the first place.
Okay.
Um, and so I was kind of tapped not only by him, but also by Endgame TV a second time. I had left the organization pretty early in 2016, or about halfway through 2016, I guess. But that
Hmm.
just to join back to it in 2019
Hmm.
after Smash and Splash 5. And then the part where I would have been the primary LAN tournament organizer would have been 2019 onward.
Okay.
What do you think the problem with that is?
Wait a couple months till
Suddenly,
2020, the world shuts down.
suddenly, no lands are happening. Um, and so my first taste of being like a full tournament organizer was
Hmm.
Genesis 7,
Okay.
January of 2020, 2 months before the world changed as we knew it.
Yeah.
Um, and so then, like, I was like, all right, well, this stinks. Um, I stuck through it, enough for Riptide 2021, and then exiting 2021, in that event in particular, I knew that I was going to grad school,
Hmm.
or I knew that I was graduating college at least, and so I didn't know what was next for me, I think, at that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't commit to doing this more. And in the collapse of Endgame TV, I cannot take on the full responsibility of doing everything.
Yeah.
So I need to make a team of people to do that, and that's where the people at Splatlands originate from.
Mm.
And so during LTC 2022, I trained up a handful of folks to be ready to organize Shine and Riptide 2022. So that was kind of the end of my stint.
Mm.
Was those 3 years where I really only was TOing like 3 events in those 3 years
Mm.
because the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
Um, and like lands are a whole different beast, as I'm sure. I mean, you've talked to Siren on this show before.
Yep.
You all have seen how hard land tournament organizers work. It is a completely different undertaking.
Mm.
Um, and it's worth it, absolutely, when you have the time to commit to it.
Yeah.
If I tried doing that now, good gosh, I would lose it. You want to talk about gray hairs? I joke about that often,
Mhm.
but that would make me have some, I'll bet.
Yeah, so yeah, I can imagine, especially with everything you have going on right now. Like the stress would be too much, and it's really cool though to see that your kind of last hurrah, obviously before the past couple months where you've kind of tuned your way back into the scene, was creating a team that can do what you did, but at the larger scale of they're going to be able to kind of form their own multi-person, multi-LAN in a sense, a team to make these events possible and continue to grow. Obviously, like, and practically a month and a half's time, we're gonna have Riptide, which is already shipping up to be way exceeded expectations of last year, since it was just recently announced we get the larger room, which I know people have for the past 2 years said like, oh, it'd be so cool if we got that. So, here we are. But it's really cool to know that you kind of were the front face of that, the person that was able to push that to be right. And I feel that's something that's very rare to see, especially in the scene where tournaments come and go, orgs come, especially newer ones, they try to form and they fall short. But you took the initiative and you were able to make something fantastic out of it, especially because you had a vision and you were able to put it in people to get that vision to keep going and growing.
And like I said, lands are a different beast, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think just like AC before me, I quickly realized that I was like kind of the only person still around that had really hosted a large scale LAN before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that I needed to pass off my wisdom, both for, multiple people, but also practically, if you look at 2022, I knew that Shine wanted us and that Riptide was happening as well. And
Mm-hmm.
those two events were 2 weeks apart
Yeah.
in 2022. So I knew, like, I would never expect myself to work both of those events. I shouldn't expect anyone else to work those events either.
Yeah.
And so that's where the team kind of formed from. And so, the people that run Riptide, really being Raised and Kraken, is more of an IPL branded event. And the people that run, formerly Low Tide City, now MomoCon. I guess it's Raze is still involved, right? Raze is kind of around.
Yeah.
You can't squash him out of anything.
Yeah.
But like Siren and the others, right? We needed more people to be able to host more events.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes with a double-edged sword, because that means that the events start competing against each other for people's attention. But
Mm-hmm.
also, I think the more places Splatoon appears, the better.
Yeah.
So, and giving more people the opportunity for an event experience, I think is more beneficial than anything. So that was the original reason why I said yes to both Shine and Riptide, even knowing that they were 2 weeks apart, but then having a plan to try to grow it past that. And unfortunate, of course, that Shine shut down completely as a tournament afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that relationship would have continued looking like, but yeah, that's kind of where we were.
What are some of your most memorable Splatoon moments? And I put obviously the S there because for someone who's, like you said, been there since the start, I'm sure you have plenty that are on your memory log, but what are a couple maybe
Yeah.
online or in person, whichever you prefer, that kind of really stick out to you in the many years that you have, helping grow and viewing the scene?
There's a handful. I think so memorable in a bad way
Okay.
was Riptide 2021. And I don't need to get into it here,
Hmm.
but the amount that I forced myself to work to force that event to what I felt like improve the experience there
Hmm.
was a lot.
Okay.
I mean, like I was basically in the venue the whole time, kind
Wow.
of acting. I was basically acting like Siren was acting at Gommel, from what I hear.
Yeah, yeah,
But I was um, I was running Riptide, not Gommel.
yeah. Hmm.
So, and it was the first event back after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, that one will stick with me, I think, for quite a while. Um, a positive land experience, Ripped or Low Tide City 2023, which I often forget about
Hmm.
because that was the first event that I was doing nothing. I might have had like one commentary block at Low Tide City 2023.
Yeah.
Um, but that was the first event where I was not doing a thing.
Hmm.
I was working. I mean, like I was supposed to not be working Riptide 2022, but then Splatoon 3 happened, launch day tournament, and so
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to get pulled in and asked to do things for that, right?
Hmm.
Um, and at Big House, I was also doing something tangentially related. So I was always like every one of these was a work trip. But finally at Low Tide 2023, I was able to take a not work trip for
Yeah.
once. I was able to take a vacation. And I think it was in that moment where I stepped back, sitting around that bonfire, and was just able to appreciate what lands mean for everybody.
Hmm.
Because I hadn't seen that genuinely, like from the start, from Smash and Splash 2018, I had basically worked most lands,
Hmm.
or worked every land that I'd attended.
Yeah.
I was never an attendee first at a land really,
Hmm.
except for, the one in 2018, but even then, I was pulled right into volunteering.
Yeah.
Um, so finally, I was able to, like, kick back and appreciate the connections that people made, the community that we had grown and developed, and even just the fact that I had played it was cool that I had played a small part in that, you know?
Hmm.
Um, to just think on that, and where I stayed up 3 a.m., 5 a.m. on those nights, LTC 23. That was fun. I guess online, uh, the largest thing probably that I will have worked on is probably Tassel,
Hmm.
Tassel season 2. Um, I think I'll always have pretty fond memories of what I was able to help lead for that event. And I wish we had the opportunity to run it back, but
Yeah.
we never had the chance, and then I ran out of time. So that's the way it goes. Turns out you had more time over the pandemic to commit to fruitless things like creating the perfect broadcast graphics in Google Sheets. So yeah, so there's
Absolutely.
a couple for sure.
Yeah, and I really like that you did kind of have a good and bad when it came to memorable land moments, because I feel like all too many times it's focused on like, oh, well, what was like my shining moments, but what was maybe
Yeah,
something that was really a huge learning experience for me, that was like, it sucked, but at the same time, if it didn't happen, who knows where I might be, or who knows what would have, where I might be heading towards, unless I had that experience that was maybe wasn't the greatest, but was still in a sense able to get done, and what I can take from it going forward to put towards other things, or whether it's events, whether it's other just life experiences. It was a good learning opportunity.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I overworked myself that event. I felt like I had to overwork myself
Yeah.
for reasons outside of my control,
Hmm.
but I did. And I think that was an important lesson to learn the hard way. And I think that's a large part of like the LAN experience or the TOing experience or even the commentary experience is trial by fire. You
Yeah.
know, you're not going to know what you don't know when you get into it. But you'll know pretty quickly, you know, and if you're thoughtful about where you might have misstepped, you'll be
Mhm.
able to make corrections for next time. So, yeah, you're absolutely right.
So finally, you get to take a break from Splatoon. You decide to call it quits. You're out, and something drew you back in this year,
Yeah.
just right at the start of summer. What kind of was the original start of like? I kind of want to look into Splatoon again. What was that like? You know
So,
what? This is interesting me.
so the story obviously doesn't end in 2023 when I like am sitting at the campfire with my feet up and
Yeah.
kick back reminiscing, right?
Why
Um,
would it, right?
for 2023, in for the whole year actually, I was actually asked to coach by Seafoam.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was coaching with them for a while. Seafoam then kind of exploded because we didn't make Ink TV quals. Um, one thing led to another, right?
Hmm.
And then I was asked to coach Sonder as well.
Yeah.
Um, and that kind of lasted, uh, I think, LTC 2023, and then a little bit afterwards through like October through that summer. Um, then after I kind of was done coaching Sonder was about the time that everything had changed in my life again.
Hmm.
Because the time that I started up being a coach was the time that I was in grad school.
Hmm.
At the end of my grad school, I then started writing a thesis. So guess who didn't have a lot of time to coach or do anything Splatoon related? And then after grad school, um, I went on like a 3-month long moving process
Hmm.
where I stayed in like 5 different places. Uh, Needless to say, that's not like you're worried about a lot of things when you're hopping around.
Yeah.
Um, like I moved in with my partner for a little bit of time out of my own apartment when I graduated. Then when her lease was up, she moved in with her mom, and I moved back home to Ohio with my parents. And it was on the day that my parents came to pick me up for that one that I found out that I had gotten my current full time job.
Hmm.
And so then I was over there in Ohio for like 2.5 weeks and then made the drive up to Wisconsin to stay in temporary housing up here. And then, you know, start my full time job.
Yeah.
Um, and get accustomed to living in a new place, right? Like even
Hmm.
further from home. Now I'm living with somebody, which I hadn't been before.
Yeah.
Um, so there was a lot of life changes, you know, in 2024
Hmm.
that I could not have predicted and gave me less time to commentate Splatoon. Oh, also, I suppose there's this game called Omega Strikers that came out, which I happen to get into for commentary. So I was commentating that game for a little while too, because that was a shiny new toy and this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
So that gave less time for Splatoon. But even when I was quote unquote retiring from running the LAN events, I said, I'm not going away, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and then like a bunch of life stuff happened where it did look like I was just gone.
Yeah.
Uh, cause yeah, that's a lot of transition time.
Absolutely.
Um, and then this academic year, it was my first time in a full-time role where my job is a college esports coordinator.
Okay.
So I run all aspects of our collegiate esports program. That includes our competitive teams. That includes our esports lounge. That includes whatever other programming or intramurals or everything. If it's esports related at our school, it goes through me at some point.
Hmm.
So that entails coaching already,
Hmm.
helping out teams in VOD reviews, things like that, interacting with students. I get that fulfillment from my job. That also mostly requires spending 8 hours a day on Discord.
Yeah.
So when I come home, guess what the last thing I want to do is? Come home and spend 4 more hours staring at my computer screen on Discord. So I just wasn't particularly motivated to like come
Hmm.
do anything Splatoon related.
Yeah.
Um, like I'd get on now and again, right? When there was something exciting happening, like the 20XX League, that was exciting, and that was a time when I really wanted to follow and pay attention. Um, but yeah, like otherwise, I had other things going on. I had other
Yeah.
priorities. But I think this summer, when things slowed down, all the students left. I don't have a lot of social outlets here still.
Mhm.
I'm new to the area. I don't know anybody up here. And I kind of missed the mentor-mentee relationship quite a bit
Mhm.
from my job. And so that was like all right, well, it's the summertime now. I've got some extra mental bandwidth at in the office right now. My job is literally an office job at the moment because there's no
Mhm.
students around, right? So I just have to sit there and like write reports or make spreadsheets or presentations or whatever, all that boring stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just don't have anything else.
Mhm.
So that was kind of my like initial like I'll get back into coaching a little bit, because I missed that. I
Yeah.
did. Um, and that's eventually how I found Hypernova now. Um, and then, of course, the more I'm around and the more I engage in conversations, the more I want to be involved creatively and commentate and help make things happen.
Mhm.
Um, so I think, you know, whether how much I will be involved in Splatoon come September when the students get back, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate completely disappearing, but I definitely am going to be at work some evenings out of the week and maybe some weekends, and not going to want to keep looking at Discord again, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, we'll see. But for now, it's a nice summer hobby to keep me a little more sane. And
Mhm.
and that's where we are. Plus, like, we're at the point now where Omega Strikers has long past exceeded its lifespan.
Mhm.
There haven't been any major updates. The developers have said there aren't going to be any updates, and the player base is slowly dwindling down. Everyone's kind of losing interest in the game, and
Mhm.
I'm kind of losing interest in the game too. So back to Splatoon, I guess,
Yeah.
for me.
Back to where it
I
all
guess
began.
the other thing too is like, you know, I miss the people here.
Mhm.
One of the reasons why I'm more comfortable, I think, like other people that are not esports gaming related look at me like I'm absurd when I say that I'm living in my third different state,
Mhm.
in my 20s.
Yeah.
Uh, I've lived in Ohio, where I was born and raised for 22 years. I then moved to grad school for 2 years, and now I'm up here, right, in
Mhm.
Wisconsin. Um, but my social relationships are all online, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how we feel connected to one another is through our computer screens. Um, and the reality is, all the people that I met online, I mostly met through Splatoon.
Mhm.
And if you don't have that common interest, I don't find that I typically go out of my way to talk to people. Not because I'm uninterested to hear about their lives, but because I have no reason to really talk to them,
Yeah.
right? Um, so I think that's also like getting back into Splatoon a little bit for me was also reconnecting with the people that I haven't talked to a lot in the past year because I've been so busy figuring my life out.
Mhm.
Um, and it kind of gives me that starting base to start, talking to others.
No, absolutely. I think Splatoon is such a it's crazy how close the community can be. It really is,
Yeah.
especially when you see it from lands or locals, even of course, because of the past 2-ish, 3-ish maybe years have really been the boom of locals appearing, which is crazy to think about. That
Which is awesome.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy to consider like look back exactly 2 years ago from today, we had maybe 2, 3-ish locals, and now we're at like 12, 13. I mean, listen, so far we're on track for my guess of that we're going to have 16 by the end of the year. So, I'm holding to that. And I know, I think JJ from Free Flow recently made
Yep.
a what was it, like a Google Sheet form or whatever on Blue Sky. It's
For
trying to see
North
to get,
Carolina.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that might be another local popping its way through. So we're
Uh,
moving really well along in the community right now.
Back in my day, when I tried hosting my local in 2018 in Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
I had 5 people for the first one
Okay.
that wanted to show up and play Splatoon. And then like the next one, there were like 8 people, like
Hmm.
or 10 people or something, and some of whom were the pop guns who had driven from Indiana 3 hours over to come to the Columbus local to meet people playing the game.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and yeah, so it is awesome to see just how much the local scene has grown.
Hmm.
Um, and all that's really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's exciting. Have you I know you've been to the last thing the last major I saw you at was MomoCon.
Yep.
Um um are there any locals that you've been to within the past 2, 3 years that have piqued your interest, or not really?
I have not. Well,
I mean,
I keep
obviously
moving
life,
around so
yeah,
much,
it's been
so
kind of hard.
that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing too is so for grad school, I was in Bloomington, Illinois,
Mhm.
which is about 2 hours south of Chicago. So I could have gone up to the Chicago local,
Yeah,
um, but when I go to lands now, it's because I'm going for my friends,
that's
you know?
fair. Yeah, absolutely.
It's no disrespect to anybody, but I don't
Mhm.
need to meet more people,
Yeah,
you
you already
know?
got your circle that you've been able to create, so why
Yeah,
expand?
exactly. Um, and that's no offense to anybody,
Yeah.
but I'm just not at the point in my life right now where going on my way to go to locals where I don't know anybody
Hmm.
sounds super engaging. And like, if I'm going up to Chicago and driving up there, I have to think about parking and like, am
Yeah.
I spending the night? And that's a nightmare and a cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Now I'm up in Green Bay. I could drive down to the one in Milwaukee.
Hmm.
Um, but again, like kind of similar thing. I'm busy. At some point with the amount of travel that I was doing, I think my partner and I plotted this out. I think we will have traveled somewhere like once a month
Hmm.
from like April through December.
Wow.
And like when you do that much travel, you're really not trying to go take another road trip down 2 hours. Um, uh, so I like my home setup, but I want to enjoy it,
Yeah.
a little more, rather than being on the road every time. I cannot do that. I'm more of the introvert, right?
Hmm.
So I love the trips. Don't get me wrong, but at some point it's like we're going again. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
So no, I have not been to locals. It's been awesome to watch
Yeah.
the connections that do get made out of locals, and I'm really happy to see even things like the land showdown, which
Yes.
I wasn't paying attention to at all. Like that happened during all of my, you know, hiatus, quote unquote, I
Hmm.
suppose. But yeah, it's been awesome to see
All right, we're gonna get into the goods here.
the
Since
cuts.
the goods of what was like the main purpose
Only
I brought you on, right?
only 45 minutes into the episode. Do you regret the number of questions that you're asking now, Cactus?
Still no, still no. So I think it was maybe like a month or so when you kind of started poking your head way back in, right? Seeing what was
Yeah.
happening around. And IPL has their announcement of a trailer for a trailer. And then the trailer hits
And I make fun of
Splat.
it.
Yeah, right? Splat World Series. Everyone's like, first of all, again, the trailer of the trailer, then the trailer of like, hey, here's the name of it, and then we get the actual trailer. So,
Yeah.
trailer three trailerception there. Um, first initial thoughts, right? Something like this we don't usually see ever in this scene. This is kind
Yeah.
of a first of its kind. Take me through kind of your initial thoughts when you saw this kind of appear.
Well, for one, I was like, cool. Another top level invitational event that I don't have to run. You know, but
Yeah.
by the time that the announcement of the full Splat World Series had actually come out,
Mhm.
I had kind of pieced together that this was going to be a top level event with qualifiers leading into
Yeah,
some finale invitational, right? Now,
absolutely.
like the Japan piece was a surprise. Um but it was more of like a novelty, I suppose, to me than a like, whoa, this is crazy, this is rocking my world.
Yeah, yeah.
Um and maybe that's also because I have not been in the I quote unquote drought, I suppose,
Mhm.
of just top level things to do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
My last real engagement with Splatoon was when I showed up for 20XX, and then I kind of like went about the rest of my life going out to do all of the other stuff that I was concerned about, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so it wasn't earth shattering to me. I love the fact that like more people are stepping up to do top level events. I've known that IPL has wanted to do one for a while,
Mhm.
in some invitational, taking some form or function. And I think this is a wonderful surprise and gives us another opportunity because I mean, this is something that Popkins said too. Uh, we don't have a lot of that crossover anymore.
Yeah.
For a while in I want to say late Splatoon 2, we actually had a pretty healthy crossover with both Terra and Oda
Mhm.
from Area Cup. Terra kind of like helped bridge the gap over to the Western scene quite a bit. And so often IPL was hosting like Area Cup live streams when Area Cup was on Saturdays. Um, they would invite a handful of folks to come up, or like Nine would run it on his own personal channel, or I ran one or two Area Cup broadcasts.
Yeah.
Um, there was a little more of that impetus from us. Uh, left the scene. Oda stopped running Area Cup events, and we kind of lost that bridge. So
Mhm.
it's really cool to see that somebody had gone out of their way to make an event like this happen again. By the way, that was the time at the Splat World Championship and all that, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool to see an event in that vein come back. And yeah, the fact that it takes this form factor where it is obviously like pretty heavily inspired by traditional esports, obviously is something that I can pretty quickly point out and pretty quickly get behind as well.
I'm really glad you did mention the Splatoon World Championship, because one of the questions I do have is kind of I mean, in general, this is something we've seen unlike any other before, at least from the community aspect, right? It's not every day you see an event or an opportunity for a handful of Western teams to go up against a handful of JP teams, unless you're looking at Nintendo Worlds or the occasional two, maybe if you're lucky, teams that decide to wake up at 6 in the morning where they live to compete in Area Cup. So,
Yeah.
how would you kind of, if you even can, compare something like this to those kind of events where, of course, one's a little more higher stake because it's the Splatoon Worlds by Nintendo, and the other is Area Cup where some Western teams just decide, you know what, I guess I can get up early.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Western team signing up for an area cup is kind of like, okay, like sure we can do that.
Hmm.
But obviously it's not ideal for a bunch of reasons, and the
Yeah.
Western players who have played in that will tell you that.
Hmm.
Um, Pretty quickly when there's lag involved, they will blame it on the international players.
Hmm.
Which like is fair because they're used to playing people who are in the same state as them,
Yeah.
basically, right? Like
Yeah.
the international or European, the meme about the European mind cannot even comprehend like America,
Yeah.
where we have a basically our own continent of 50 countries
Hmm.
um that talk to one another, whereas in other places the countries are a lot smaller. So they're
Yeah.
used to having like, pretty decent internet connection. And when the latency appears, it's going to be put on the Western players.
Hmm.
Um So, signing up for an area cup, sure they can do it. I think teams do it for practice.
Hmm.
And especially the top level, because top level has nobody else to practice against, right? They
Yeah.
play the same two teams all the time, and those are the only teams that can really give them any good practice. So signing up for an area cup is just kind of the next best thing to go do. Obviously, the a publisher's take on whatever their pinnacle competition is will always be the pinnacle competition,
Hmm.
bar none.
Yeah.
And so anytime Nintendo comes around with their world championship, um, you know, that is going to be the one that everyone looks out for. I think the nice thing about the community run World Series is that you get a lot more combinations that you wouldn't otherwise get that can likely lead to like better Western teams in comparison to what they might be otherwise.
Mhm.
So if there were two North American players and two European players, they can team up and play in this event,
Mhm.
um, and not have to be region locked,
Yeah.
right? Like they are for the main Nintendo event. Um, Similarly, in Europe, obviously, they're even more separated because they have to play by their country. Then they have
Mhm.
the European Championship that brings all their countries together, which is like saying that you have to form a team within your own state.
Yeah.
And you might think of a couple good players within your own state, but you're not going to get the same if you don't broaden your horizon there.
Mhm.
So it's nice to see this because an event like this provides maybe the most equal footing, quote unquote,
Mhm.
that you can find. Oh, by the way, this also benefits the Japanese players too, because the Japanese players historically are chosen by random lottery system to even get the chance to compete in the qualifier for the final event,
Oh,
right?
wow. I didn't even know
Um,
that.
like their signups are so big that you have to go through a lottery system to be chosen to compete.
Mhm. Wow.
Uh, and so that's where, like, so you go, where are all of these other players, like the Melons of the world
Yeah.
or the Nagoras of the world? They're not there because they didn't get the lottery ticket to go sign
Yeah.
up. So this truly is, albeit in the online fashion where there's going to be latency because we're playing across an ocean,
Mhm.
and the fact time zones will always be an issue,
Yeah.
but this is the highest level of Splatoon gameplay I think that you can probably watch. And that's the reason why you should be tuning in, and why there's such a big fuss that's being made about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I honestly agree completely because yeah, like this is kind of the most open ability for JP players to compete in an event like this with these in a sense high stakes. And like you said, it's a great opportunity for just Western to be combined as a whole. There's no, like you said, there's no region lock, there's no splitting up, there's no creating all these different kind of region lock teams that you're gonna have to try to compete against. It's now kind of open frenzy to have this go through, and the fact that it's eight and eight teams, so there's plenty of opportunities to see who's going to be able to kind of push their way the furthest based on the teams they were able to put together. Speaking of that, it's actually one of the questions I do have is, out of all the teams competing, who are you most excited to see compete, whether it's on the Western side or JP side?
This one's hard. Excited to see compete. I think like the obvious answer there is probably going to be PXG.
Mhm.
I mean, they're pretty clearly, assuming they're still practiced, which I have to assume at this point because I've been
Mhm.
given no reason to disbelieve that.
Yeah.
Um, they are the best Western team there is right now, period.
Yeah.
Like Gray and Co. have won like the past two or past three Sendoku majors, right? Like
Mhm.
they are the best team right now. I don't think there's any denying that. So seeing their opportunity to stack up against some of the Japanese greats, I think in a setting where they know that this tournament is coming and it's not like, hey, you want to do Area Cup this week?
Yeah.
We'll have to see how this goes. Now, like that said, we're still playing against Japanese pickups.
Yeah.
This is all pickup culture, and pickup culture in Japan is worse, if there's a worse, I guess, right? But
Mhm.
it is even more on the scale of, I mean, I one of the things I'm doing is there was an area cup on Monday. So I'm kind of going through and like parsing together who's on which teams for area cup versus SWS later in the week, right?
Yeah.
Because it changes and there are
Mhm.
differences. Um, so I'd say like the most obvious one is going to be PXG.
Mhm.
I think getting the chance though to watch all of the Japanese talent that there will be, I think is going to be incredibly fun to see. Um, because not only and in this way, right, like as a commentator, which I won't be actually, or to my understanding right now, maybe I'm going to lie and spread misinformation.
It's
But to my
okay.
understanding right now, I will not be commentating live over the games
Mhm.
on Saturday. But like the commentators that are there will have the opportunity to brush up a little bit on figuring out who's who and be able to bring you the action of these are like some of the best players the game has ever known.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I mean, just look at the list. Lobster has won like the past like 4 area cups or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. Right? Maru, Grand Roll has been up there in area cups. Toto, Rusu, Mauricio is on this list. Like there are a couple of absences in the current state of like players that just weren't here. But the level of star power that there is out of Japan is
Mhm.
absolutely bonkers
Yeah.
in this one. And so being able to watch what they do uh in a setting that is going to be more digestible to the casual Western competitive Splatoon fan, um, I think is going to be so hopefully something that everyone can learn at least one new thing from.
Mhm. Yeah, this is something that's also going to really push the Western viewers to learn about when it comes to the JP scene because, like you mentioned, we're not really at that point where we used to be, where we had that strong connection between the West and JP, and especially I don't really think we ever had the opportunity to kind of really push for that audience level of understanding and enjoyment and just knowledge for them to have, besides maybe the very very rare occasion where Chara will have maybe a VOD video posted of going over the latest area cup. But besides that, there's really been no opportunity until now with this event. So there's going to be a lot of great chances for players to see what the JP scene is like, how exactly they may just, or why, actually, not even maybe, they are further than the players are in skill, and what they're able to accomplish that might just almost feel like you're watching, not the greatest Western teams compete, just because they're just on that kind of scale of being so good at this game.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up, for the Western pride this time around. Like keep your American flags at home, like and get out your brooms because you might be seeing a decent number of those, but not
Yeah.
the way that maybe the English speaking folks are going to want.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's yeah, that's what we're in for. But
Yeah.
like again, and the other thing too, oh sure, go watch Area Cup yourself, but the language barrier
Mhm.
is very difficult to
Yeah.
get across, right? Like, yes, at this point, because I've watched him play for so long, and because in comparison, he has a little more of a distinct like character name, I can tell you instantly what Melon's in-game name looks like.
Yeah.
Beyond that, though, I have no idea who's who while I'm actually watching the game.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm going through the process of like cross-referencing who's who and parsing that together so that hopefully I can help inform our audience,
Yeah.
right? On those sorts of things. And you hear players like Rusu Toto, okay, what makes them good, right? Like
Mhm.
why are they so good? This hopefully will truly be that time where commentators will be able to help bring that experience to Western fans.
Yeah. We had a lot of interesting teams, at least for the Western side, that qualified for this event. Which of them to you is the most surprising?
The cop-out answer, of course, is free flow,
Mhm.
where they were invited because teams had to drop, right,
Yeah.
to get here. Honestly, though, I'm gonna say my own team, and not just because, like, I wanna plug my team, but actually because, like, the way in which we qualified, we should not have qualified. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we squeaked out 4th in Super Jump because of an unfortunate DC from a member from the Zenith Yoshell pickup.
Mhm.
Yoshell DC'd, like, halfway through game 1, where, like, the scores were down far enough, right?
Yeah.
Uh And then, yeah, we went like even with FT Win. And then we got lucky because Moonlight that Zenith pickup and Vanguard all ended up on the same side of losers, and only one of them can make it to top 4.
Yeah.
Whereas we were, in comparison, kind of scot-free. We
Mhm.
had to play against free flow to get there. So, yeah, it's to say that we lucked out there is certainly an understatement. I
Mhm.
also think that there was something to playing the weapon comp that we knew how to play rather than trying out all these new weapons and getting confused with what's good, what's not good. Because I think a lot of teams overthought that tournament.
Yeah.
We did not. And because we didn't have time to practice, as I kind of mentioned on the podcast.
Yeah.
Um, so we just kind of stuck to what we knew and we knew how to play it. And that gave us the opportunity to be on pretty equal ground with teams like Milk Duds and teams like the Zenith Yoshell pickup. Now, I think this weekend, again, we're not going to make a breakout performance here like I didn't think we would in Super Jump. You know, even
Yeah.
before Super Jump, I was doing damage control. For those of you that know behind the scenes, I was doing damage control, being like, don't put too much stock into Hypernova. We haven't practiced hardly at all. And then we pulled away fourth. That's not happening on this one. We will be lucky if we go 1-2.
Yeah.
And like the only reason we went 1-2 is because all of the Western teams ended up in losers round 1, and we happened to pull somebody that we could beat. You know,
Yeah.
like that's what it's going to be.
I mean, speaking of just trying to pull teeth to win a game, which Western team do you feel has the best chance to get the furthest against some of these JP powerhouses?
I already said it's PXG
Yeah.
by far. I think there's a chance that Milky Way will be okay. Like they might be able
Mhm.
to hold their own.
Okay.
Because I think similarly, like the level of star power that they have on their roster is nothing to scoff at, certainly on the Western side. But I think like FT win on down is going to struggle.
Mhm.
The only saving grace for a team like FT win, they might beat their round 1 opponent,
Mhm.
maybe, right? But
Yeah.
like beyond that, they're probably not going to crack into top 4.
Mhm.
I don't see FT win doing it. I mean, to crack into top 4, I'll give you the behind the scenes. Based on seeding, you have to the top 4 or the 5th seed Japanese team
Mhm.
is Momo, Norishio, Kotaji, and Kino Channel. So you have to beat Kotaji, who's I'm pretty sure this is the same player that's been around since Splatoon 1 at the highest
Mhm.
level of the Japanese scene, and Norishio, who you all know is one of the people that played into Super Jumps a while ago and had crazy Zipcaster plays on the Splatana Stamper before playing Splatana Stamper was cool
Yeah.
in the Western scene. That's the team you have to beat to knock off the 5th seed in Japan. Does FT Win have what it takes? Probably not. Does Milky Way have
Questionable.
what it takes? It's close.
Yeah.
Gonna go with no. Does PXG have what it takes? Maybe. Like,
Yeah.
but do they have what it takes to beat 4 of those teams in a row? No.
Mhm.
You know, that's where I
Absolutely.
think I
Yeah.
draw the line.
Mhm.
So maybe you'll see one upset here or there. I do expect the Western teams to get some wins
Yeah.
on Saturday, but yeah, to claim that we're going to crack top 3 and hit podium is, I think, ignorant.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only wins that we may see is probably against each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Down in the losers
That's what I'm
bracket.
saying. When like all the Western teams drop into losers round 1, yes, congratulations. By default, only 4 teams can go 0-2, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so yes, there will be some Western teams that go 1-2, and probably some that go 2-2.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
So you mentioned it already. You coach Hypernova. You've been able to watch through their comps, watch through what they're able to do. Has there? I think you mentioned a little bit there. It hasn't been a crazy practice for Super Jump, but how about this event? What's been the consistency when it's come to practicing or really getting just the maybe comp experimentation, if any, for this event this upcoming weekend? No.
Slim to none.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is it because no one
yeah,
wants to, or is it just scheduling conflicts?
all of the above. I think in some cases, like Hypernova coming into this event does not have anything to prove,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I think like the bar for even probably up to Moonlight,
yeah,
the bar for this event is ensuring your qualification to be like, no, yeah, we belong at the top.
yeah.
Do I think we're going to like take it serious? Like, yeah, of course we're going to try, right?
Absolutely,
But I
yeah.
also we're not like putting in like 4-hour scrim blocks every day to try to prepare for this thing.
Hmm.
Because everyone else has lives and has other things they'd rather do right now than try to grind that hard.
Yeah.
We're playing when we can, for sure. But I know scheduling conflicts have been a problem. You're like,
Hmm.
and like there's only so often eh, that I'm around too,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
full-time job, and then I have home stuff to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, so, uh, yeah, Hybridova, I'm a little more happy with where we're at in comparison to where we were heading into Super Jump,
Hmm.
but that does not take into account the rest of everybody else because I think certainly top 3 is gonna be a lot more and probably even Moonlight as well, are gonna be much more prepared than we are heading into
Yeah.
this one, and much more prepared than they were in comparison to us, certainly ahead of Super Jump.
Hmm.
Um, so, yeah. Am I super happy about that as a coach? No,
Hmm.
but that's the way life goes, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta pick your battles, and this was not one that was worth picking for us.
Yeah. Just for fun, what is the furthest you'd love to see Hypernova get in this tournament?
If we do 1 and 2 and we beat the one Western team,
Yeah.
we're there.
Yeah.
You know? And if we go 0 and 2 and it's because we lose to like a random star powered Japanese team, like,
Yeah.
okay, you
Yeah.
know, uh, I fully expect us to lose round 1 no matter who we play from
Mhm.
Japan. And I pretty well expect us to lose the next match versus whatever Japanese team we end up playing.
Yeah.
Um, I think we won't be practiced enough basically to
Mhm.
get through further. So I would expect us to beat another Western team that drops down to losers
Yeah.
that we're higher seed than.
Mhm.
Or like Moonlight will always be a competitive match for us.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, if we can beat Moonlight, great. Like that's where we are. But I really don't have I'm not casting a wide range of possibilities.
Mhm.
I kind of know exactly where we're going to be. And you know, the other thing with that too is if I'm pessimistic, I get to be surprised when we do better
Yeah.
rather than even considering that there's a potential of something happening.
Mhm.
Um, I just get to be surprised and be happy rather than and this is like life hack, seriously. Like
Yeah.
be a pessimist sometimes because like I used to do the like Nintendo Direct bingo and everything, and then every direct I was disappointed afterwards because I
Yeah.
hyped myself up over all these things that you could get. Whereas now I just sit down, I watch Nintendo Direct, I go, cool, there were like 3 things in there that I thought were really cool. I'm gonna look into those later, and then I'm not disappointed, right?
Yeah.
So life hack, set your expectations low so that you could be surprised later.
Oh, good. Pretty great life hack right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm gonna toss a follow up to that. So obviously that's how you feel about Hypernova. What's the furthest you'd love to see a Western team get in this event? 'Cause like you said, top 3, damn near impossible. But
Yeah.
what would be a real like shining moment, I guess, for the Western scene?
Um, so what I think the largest thing, and I think this is something that a lot of people forget about when you're watching any top cut, invitational, whatever,
Hmm.
that's double elimination,
Hmm.
is that anytime there's an upset that happens, it drastically changes the way that the losers bracket looks.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden the team is dropping into the opposite half of losers bracket.
Hmm.
And so one side of losers can be potentially more stacked than the other. with that in mind, there's a universe where like PXG drops like their second or third series and they play against 2 or 3 Western teams in a row and then they're in top 4.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yep.
there is a world where that happens. Do I know the likelihood of that? Like, no, I'm not that much of a bracket wizard.
Yeah.
But like the odds of that happening, I think, are probably higher than people will give it credit for. Because historically, like when we've done events like this in the past, when it's been Splat World Championship, it's been single elim. So you
Mhm.
lose, you're out. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. And there, like top 4 was semifinals, which we were most likely going to lose 100% of the time anyway.
Mhm.
But in this context, that losers bracket can push a team like they did to Free Flow in Super Jump, right? Where they can beat all of these other teams because they hit the upset earlier and then got lucky that they didn't go to the side of death, you know?
Yeah.
Um, just like us, like Free Flow's hardest opponent, they played against STL, they played against us. Those were the 2 teams they got eliminated against, right?
Yeah.
You probably think about, or no, they beat STL, which was the Thunder Goss
Oh,
pickup.
yeah, yeah.
I forget who they lost to. And then they lost to us. So like you look at that and you go, okay, sure, right? Like you got the upset in round 1, and then you were able to kind of drop into the correct side of losers. So
Mhm.
the odds of that happening, I think, are pretty likely. The odds of like PXG versus Milky Way to get to top 4, I think, is plausible.
Mhm.
And in that way, somebody has to get it,
Yeah.
right? So I wouldn't be shocked to be like clickbait top 4, whoa, Western team. But then you look at the bracket and you go, yeah, they played against 2 other Western teams. Like, yeah, they're going to take that spot, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, but like I said, I think realistically, no Western team is going to hit the podium. If they do, like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe we overestimated like the just raw mechanical skill of the Japanese players, and they actually needed more in the way of a dedicated team that was cohesive, that had a specific strategy that they were developed on. But I think by this point, most things are plug and play,
Yeah.
and should be pretty easy to base on.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that's a lot of players are gonna kind of miss, and I'm glad you brought it up with how the bracket will just end up turning out completely based on who beats who ends up where, how it ends up going, uh, being in a sense seeded too. Like obviously, like if you check on Sendu now, there is some seeding that is completed. Which shout out to IPL for kind of having that up today. I think literally yesterday they were at 14 teams, adding the 15th, and then today
Yep.
they're all in there. So wonderful work to be able to kind of view that and see at least right now how it looks. Set up. Obviously, there's still what 4 or 5 days we have, or probably 4 days before we have the event itself, so that very well could change. I think right now the way also if you click on like the teams competing, it's alternating from JP to Western throughout the whole way. Just so there's everyone pretty much is fighting a JP team when they first go into it for their first match. So which makes it all the more exciting. It's going to be really cool to see how each team is going to be able to fare, and against who they're going to be fighting up against too. So that should be really exciting, entertaining to see. And like you said, if they do somehow pull up a Western team that decides to get into top 4, gotta look at that bracket. Just
Here's
please.
the other thing, right? Like the other thing that could very well happen, just because of the way the bracket shakes out, is PXG can drop down to top 8,
Yeah.
and like Milky Way makes it to top 4, right?
Yeah.
Or FT Win makes it to top 4 because they upset Milky Way, and like that was the main upset in claim to fame, right?
Yeah.
Like those are likely scenarios to happen. So like PXG being, I think everyone gives them the nod because they're the best chance. But again, with however the bracket plays out, because of whichever Japanese team is performing that day, or whichever Western team gets an upset that sends a Japanese team down, uh, like things can get real weird real fast.
Yeah.
And the difference between top 4 and top 8, I think, for this tournament for a lot of people is going to be significant. But again, look at the bracket,
Yeah.
apply those critical reading skills, which I know are hard sometimes for some people, But yeah, if you get to those, that's where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's literally a universe where like, two to three Western teams take their first sets, knock JP to losers, and then they lose their next ones, and next thing you know, JP completely obliterates the rest of winners and losers because
Right.
so it's like there goes your top eight, right? It's gonna be very interesting to see. It's gonna be very exciting. Besides SWS though, yeah, I think that's all I really have else to add. Unless there's anything else you would like to add before my next question for you.
I don't think so. I want to shout out IPL. Obviously, the crew over there is doing a ton of work. I'm involved in some of the like production channels and something, and just the level of effort and energy that is being put into this,
Hmm.
it makes it deserving of your attention.
Yeah,
So hopefully, like, stay tuned throughout the week. This week, there should be a couple more updates of things happening. And in addition, there might even be content that gets made. There's potentially content that gets made after the event happens
yeah,
on, like, through official IPL channels as well. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm not here to make any promises. I'm not affiliated with
yeah,
IPL, but do tune in to watch. If you can't wake up early enough, then check the VOD, and tune into the content
yeah.
afterwards. But shout outs to those folks, Ellie and Z, the Under Pressure crew, putting in significant amounts of work for that as well. So
Yeah, they've really made this all such a shining opportunity and a great viewing experience, and so much fun to keep track of too. I love their like daily slash weekly posts of all the teams that are competing, and the way they just like include the XP. It's so funny to view because like you'll see a JP team, it's like their combined average is like 4K, and then you will see a Western team, it's like barely the bridge of 3,400. And it's like, oh, there is a significant gap here. This is going to be very exciting.
yeah, yep. They don't get those numbers for fun,
Yeah.
like, it takes effort and energy, and yeah, so
So, K-Bot, besides SWS, once it's over, what's next for you? What are your plans for the scene? We're at the end of summer. Is any lands on your horizon? Wink, wink. Riptide, nudge, nudge.
yeah. We'll see. I'm still unsure whether or not I'm going to be able to make it out to Riptide.
Mm,
I hope that I get the chance to go, but time will tell on that. I'm waiting on just a couple of other things to lock into place.
yeah.
Um, we'll see what Hypernova wants to do. It sounds like we're not super enthused about trying to push for Sendoku Major either.
Mm,
So maybe you'll see us there, maybe you won't. Um, and like obviously, like you mentioned, I kind of got a month left until the school year starts again, where I become a lot more busy. There's a lot more things going on in my head. I get to coach other teams. So I'm probably not going to want to coach at work and then come home and
more
keep
coaching.
coaching. So, we'll see. I'm sure I will be around. I'm sure I will occasionally commentate things when I'm asked
Mhm.
to. But again, like, I'm not disappearing. And like I said on Popgun's show, when you've been around Splatoon for 10 years,
Mhm.
it's really hard to envision a life without Splatoon.
Yeah.
It's been part of my life for now. What's the math on that at this point? It's like two or no, it's like a third, I think, at this point is the
Mhm.
math. Um, no, not quite. How?
Well,
Whatever.
the sort of
I think it's
Splatoon one,
somewhere
right?
between a
So,
third and a half.
yeah.
Somewhere between a third and a half. Like 40% of my life, basically,
It's been
has been
Splatoon.
with Splatoon, and that includes all the time that you don't remember when you're a little kid, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
uh, so yeah, I am sure I will be around. In what form or how often, I'm unsure,
Mhm.
but I'll be here. I've been enjoying posting about Splatoon on Blue Sky, so that's where you can probably find something up to date. If you follow me on Twitter, it's probably something about general college esports, something or other.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the separation in my head, is that I now keep the Splatoon stuff on Blue Sky because I actually get to see the Splatoon stuff on Blue Sky instead of what other nonsensical things the algorithm's feeding me. So there
Yeah.
we are.
Well, Kbot, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This
You sure you don't regret it yet?
I have forgotten. Listen,
80
I'll
minutes?
take that
80
pop gun.
minutes?
80 minutes is not terrible. Take that. We did not go 3 hours. I asked more than three
Uh,
questions. That's a challenge for you to try to beat that record. But yeah, no, seriously,
he
Kbot,
will
thank
not.
you. No, he won't. He likes to yap as much as we all do.
Yes, correct. Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, I enjoy sitting here and talking.
Mm.
And like I was saying earlier, I don't have to lead the conversation. This is the easy
Yeah.
part for me. I just get to sit here and talk. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely more than happy to.
Yeah.
And yeah, tune into tune into SWS. Um, Tune into the rest of the IPL stuff, and tune into more competitive Splatoon stuff in general because the scene is cool.
Yeah. Wise words, fantastic words from UK Bot. For real, thank you again. And for anyone, of course, want to K-Bot stuff, you want to check out whatever K-Bot will be up to. The Blue Sky and the Twitters are there. What is it? It's K-Bot underscore 273?
Kbon underscore 273 on Twitter and no underscore dot bsky.social. Pinky linked it in chat. Thank you.
W. Shout out Pinky, the
But
GOAT.
yeah, like I said, you're not going to find a lot of Splatoon stuff from me on Twitter. So
Mm.
it's probably not worth it over there.
Yeah, no. I find myself finally in that rhythm of checking Blue Sky way more because it's just so much
Yeah.
more like content I want.
The sad part is that the professional collegiate esports industry has
Mhm.
not gotten away from Twitter.
Not surprised.
So it's still kind of, I mean, not for like any one particular reason. I think it's just because that's what everyone's used.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So I'm kind of still over there because I kind of have to know what's going on because then there's
Mhm.
like a giant cheating scandal or something happens and then you're caught out of the loop. And
Yeah.
yeah, so uh, yes, I am obligated in some way to be on Twitter, I suppose, which makes it less fun, but
Mhm.
all good.
Yeah. Part of the job, whether we like it or not. Can't have some pros without some cons. So
Yeah.
that'll do it then from us here over at the Cactus Patch. Want to thank you all so much for listening or watching, whichever you decide to do. Again, thank you so much, Kbot, for being on here this weekend, Saturday. Watch SWS. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be entertaining. I might do
8 o'clock Eastern,
8 a.m. right?
8 a.m. Eastern. Set your alarms, people.
I might honestly just do like a watch party. It might be really fun. Even though we'll have, the clear expectations that we discussed for you. But hey, you never know.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. But yep, that'll do it from us here. Thank you all for watching, listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-byes.